Desert Tech WLVRN. WLVRN. I got this rifle just a couple of days before going to finish Brutality, the Winter Brutality Edition, and I just had barely enough time to zero it. At that time I used the LPVO because I was also testing the Integrix i8X, and the setup worked great for the Brutality match. I was a bit worried about it because that was the first time I was using a bullpup rifle for a Brutality match. I didn't have a chance to train, and I knew nothing about this rifle until I tested it in the field. The rifle performed flawlessly. It was accurate, it was reliable. I didn't have any issues with the ergonomics or manipulation of the rifle. It just worked. Now I have a couple of thousand rounds through this rifle. It was thoroughly cleaned twice, specifically because I was testing the accuracy of the rifle, not because that would cause any issues or malfunctions. I actually had 0 malfunctions with this rifle. If you exclude when I was testing stuff, put the gas on the minimum, and then it undercycled, so it didn't cycle completely because it was undergassed without a suppressor, or on the lowest gas setting with the flow-through suppressor, sometimes it doesn't lock the bolt back. But that was my setting that I used, and I used it specifically for accuracy testing. Otherwise I would never use it on such a low setting for any normal use. For competitions I had it one setting up and it just cycled without a problem. Even in Finland with snow, minus 20 degrees, crazy conditions, no hiccups. After months of use and thousands of rounds later, I am confident enough to do a proper review on this rifle. Now let's put some graphics on the screen about this rifle, the caliber, weight, overall length, and any other important thing that we think it's important. I will go into more details about the bullpup rifles and their inner workings in a separate video, but what is important for us right now is that the Desert Tech WLVRN is a bullpup rifle, so it has some specific features and design choices that we'll have to take in consideration when doing this review. Bullpup system has its pros and cons, and there are a lot of debates about it, but one of the biggest features is that when you move the operating system in the back, you can have a much longer barrel in a very compact platform. Fit and finish and build quality. This rifle is very well made, fits together nicely, there are no rattling parts, materials, even plastic seems high quality made, has a nice matte finish. The machining is great, hard anodized finish, everything is as it should be. My point here is that this rifle is very well constructed, and I would rate the build quality as excellent. Controls and ergonomics. Let's start with the selector. It's ambidextrous and it has a 45 to maybe 60 degree throw. It's usable, but it feels a bit less optimized than an AR rifle. Probably because the pivot is shorter and it just sits a bit too far to the back for my use. Now it's perfectly usable. I also used it with gloves and without gloves. I'm just saying that AR still has a bit better positioning and feeling of the selector itself. And here we have the mag release. It's also ambidextrous and it has a backup over here. So when you're reloading, you can actually press this button here and also acts as a magazine release. It's also slick enough that you usually do not accidentally press it with your gear or by yourself. At first I didn't really get why the redundancy, but during the Finnish Winter Brutality I actually caught myself using this magazine release more than the one in the front. The bolt release is right behind the magazine over here. Initially it looks that it's in a perfect position for reloads. For example, I take a full magazine, I insert it and then use my thumb here to release the bolt. But I caught myself during competition many times rather using the charging handle. That again can indicate my lack of training with this platform, but just something about this bolt release doesn't work well with me. I get the magazine out, I get this bear can grip or whatever you call this, I insert it, and if you see with my thumb up in this position, I'm actually hitting the bolt release before the magazine is fully inserted. Maybe that's why it doesn't work well on me. I would prefer a side bolt release like on an AOG rifle or on an AR rifle, But what would be optimal is if they could somehow make it here. So you could initiate it with your trigger finger or something, which would bring all of the controls here in front. Additionally, this can also work as a bolt catch. Use a charging handle and then press on the other side to lock it like this. The length of pull is set, you cannot adjust it. I would say that this is ideal for me without the use of a plate carrier. The pistol grip is very nice, has some texture on it, and it's on a good angle, so it's more vertical than you would usually find on standard AR rifles, which works well with this length of pull. These two charging handles are a non-folding type, and I was expecting that this will be a big issue of getting stuck into my equipment or kind of bothering me when I will be carrying the rifle on my body. But that actually was not the case, and I didn't even notice them, so that was good. And the second thing, I also discovered why you have a front locking position for these charging handles. So these are now in the locking position, and I can use a lot of force. I cannot move them. As far as I know, I think this is done specifically so in a case that you have a lot of gear on, you do not accidentally snag the charging handle and put the bolt out of battery. So to operate the charging handle, you have to first push it down and then back. But just with a couple of minutes of training and seeing how this is done, it becomes a non-issue. While locking in the rear position, so you can easily lock the bolt back, and you can do an HK slap reload. On a first glance, that seems a bit redundant because you have also a bolt catch and bolt release, but I actually caught myself doing that, using that a lot during the Finnish winter brutality. Not sure why, it just felt faster and natural at the time. Front handguard is completely plastic. It has M-lock slots, but it probably will not hold proper zero for your aiming lasers and other stuff. But I was surprised at how rigid it is for a plastic handguard. And yes, if you push towards the handguard and the barrel, you see movement, but there's a part of it is movement of the barrel, which is free floated, and a part of it is the handguard itself. But just like this, it's really hard to bend it out of the way. Now, if you want to upgrade this and you want to use it for, I don't know, a night vision setup where you need an aiming laser on it, Desert Tech also has an aluminum handguard which should properly hold zero. But for my use right now, this one feels really well. It's very ergonomic. I use an M-lock hand stop here, and this worked with or without gloves. Also for mounting different kind of lights, just it works. You have two QD sling attachments at the rear, but there's no QD sling attachment in the front. There is this loop over here that I presume is to mount a sling on a handguard, and this one definitely is tough enough that you could use the sling no problem. And since the barrel is free floated, you will have zero issues even if you preload the sling and you're super strong. Personally, I prefer to use QD for my slings, so I attach this one here and it just works, it's functional. So I would rate the controls and ergonomics of this rifle as good compared to all of the other standard rifles, and excellent if we're talking about bullpups specifically. The trigger on this rifle is really good. It has this straight, flat face. It has a bit of pre-travel, and then on your first trigger squeeze, you just have a little bit of grip. Now, the reset is short and tactile, and when you reset it to this point, then you have directly trigger press with a very nice clean break. So if I release it completely, so if I reset it and release it completely, now it has this bit of pre-travel and a bit of a rolling creep. It's not a super light trigger, but it's lighter than most of the mil-spec ones. And just in terms of practical use, it's usable for precision shots, especially if you move your trigger finger way down here. You will get even better leverage and it will feel lighter. And also it's perfectly usable for fast follow-up shots. You can really get fast shooting with this rifle without an issue. Overall, I would rate this trigger as good or as excellent for the bullpup rifles. Recoil and handling. The rifle is very nicely balanced in the middle. It's very easy to point, manipulate, but it is on more of a heavy side. The main reason for that is this is a multi-caliber system, and yes, mine is right now set up in 2-3 version, but the same rifle, the same receiver can be converted to 308. That's why it's overbuilt. It's a bit heavier than your standard 2-3 rifle, but in a 308 configuration, this would actually be considered a very light rifle. The weight is not an issue at all, especially if you consider that it has a 16-inch barrel that's more on a heavy profile. The short stroke piston system has an adjustable gas block with multiple adjustments that are very functional. From your lowest adjustment that you can use with a big conventional suppressor with a lot of back pressure to a bit more gas for your flow-through cans, to more gas for normal operation, for adverse conditions, very dirty gun, or maybe if it has some mud ingress and other stuff, you can still keep it cycling. And then additionally, it also has, I think, 1 or 2 extra openings that overgas it. What I also like is that the gas adjustment here it's not super accessible, but can easily be done in the field or during shooting with a tip of a bullet. You insert it here and move it up or down, or you can insert it from the other side. It's also clearly marked with engravings, so you always know on which setting you are. Now, this being a short stroke piston system and also a bullpup, it has a very specific recoil impulse. I would say it definitely kicks more than a normal gas impingement AR, but it's not as bad as some of the other short stroke gas piston systems, for example, like the H&K 416, the G3, the G36, and some others. But what's also interesting to me is that how big of a change does a proper gas adjustment make to your felt recoil? When I was doing accuracy testings, I put the gas setting on the minimum that will still function the rifle, and it was super pleasant to shoot. So, like with all weapon systems that give you the option to adjust the gas setting, it is then on you to adjust it properly, because otherwise you can induce malfunctions. I will score the recoil and handling as good or as excellent if we are considering this is a bullpup rifle. This is hands down the most accurate piston operated rifle I have ever shot. Not sure how they did it, but it has apparently it has a free floated barrel. It has a short stroke piston system over here. It has a quick barrel change lockup here that locks into the receiver, and it just works. If you're not familiar, short stroke or long stroke piston operated systems are inherently less accurate than, for example, DI, direct impingement, what normal ARs use. This comes down to a lot of factors. One of them is that when you're operating a piston that sharply recoils, it will have some counter force that will act on the gas block and on the barrel. The most known and obvious representation of that would be an AK barrel, where you can see that when the ball carrying pistons start to move back, that also creates counter force and pushes the barrel down, so it dips. And if you look at the slow motion of an AK barrel, it's doing this, right? So more movement, less accuracy. What surprised me the most is the accuracy I can get from this rifle with the cheapest Celerium below 55 grain ammo. It's a full metal jacket round that they designate as training round, and you get it in a box of loose rounds, 100 rounds, and that's like the cheapest you can get from them. It's still breast cased, it's good ammo, but just using it in some other rifles, I got subpar performance. Now, it's perfectly usable for what I use it. I actually use it in all of the competitions, because you get from 3 to 4 MOA, and if you're not doing extreme long range, that's perfectly usable for IPSC or person-sized torso targets. Now, in this rifle, with the same ammo, I can get sub 2 MOA grouping with 10 rounds at 100 meters, which is super surprising to me, but also very positive result, because then it gives you good accuracy with the cheapest ammo. Now to see the optimal results I can get with this rifle, I took some Celerium Bilov match ammo, which is quite expensive, and it's 77 grain hollow point bow tail. And before making the final group, I shot about 20 rounds to foul the barrel and heat up the system. So the rifle was hot, and when I shot the grouping of 10 rounds, I didn't rush, I took my time, but everything was already hot. So with that, I was hoping to eliminate the vertical stringing, where you get a difference in hits by vertical axis because the system is heating up, and I guess you're getting some strains or some movement in the barrel and the gas system, and that results in different hits. I was able to produce a 1 MOA grouping with 10 rounds, which is superb, which is excellent, which is amazing, which is really good. There are not a lot of rifles, especially semi-automatic rifles, especially bullpups, that can come close to that. If you don't believe me, try it yourself at home, and you will see how hard it is to produce 1 MOA 10 round grouping with any rifle for that matter, not just semi-automatic ones. Oh, I almost forgot to mention, this rifle doesn't like 69 grain ammo. I tried the cheaper version of the 69 grain ammo from Celerium Bilov, did terrible, and I also tried their superb match ammo, the 69 grain hollow point bow tail match. Super expensive and very nicely performing ammo in some other systems. In this one, it doesn't like it. You're at around 2 MOA with the match ammo, and at 3 to 4 MOA with the cheaper version. I do not know why. It's just something that I experienced, and now it's noted. Overall, I would rate the accuracy and performance of this rifle as excellent. Not just as a bullpup rifle, but all around. I shot a lot of rounds through this rifle in a lot of different conditions. The most extreme was the Finnish winter brutality. There was snow, ice, wind, minus 20 degree extreme weather, and the rifle just worked flawlessly. I was surprised as how little the gun gets dirty, even when running suppressed, and it was never an issue that it will impede the function or reliability of this rifle. All of the magazines that I used seem to work and function with the gun normally. I prefer to use the P-Mags, the M3 version, because they are drop free on this platform. But keep in mind that on an open bolt, on an empty magazine, it actually depends on the position of your rifle if the magazine will drop free. So it will not drop free consistently every time. For example, like this. Overall, I would rate the function and reliability of this rifle as excellent. This is, by a definition, a modular rifle platform. It's designated as multi-caliber, and it was made from ground up to be a system where you can convert it from different calibers. For example, I have the 223 and a 300 blackout barrel. For 300 blackout, you loosen these 3 screws, unlock it, get the barrel out, get the other barrel in, lock the screws, and you're golden. You just load 300 blackout and shoot with it. This is amazing! Okay, it's still a bit undergassed, because you can see it barely ejects the shell casings, but it's super fun to shoot, super quiet. Wow. And the suppressor we're using, this is the original oil filter from AliExpress. Aluminum single core design. Seems to be working still. Now you can use the same system to convert the same rifle to a 308 or to 6.5 Creedmoor. For converting it to those bigger calibers, you'll have to remove this plastic magwell insert. You will have to change the bolt head, just the bolt, not the bolt carrier itself. And you will replace the barrel, which already has an integrated gas block and a short stroke piston system. So essentially you pull it out, put the 308 in, lock it again, use the 308 magazine and it functions, it works. I've seen some options for aftermarket parts. You can get a performance trigger pack, change the front handguard to a short one, a longer one. You have options for aluminum M-lock handguards, and one company even makes aluminum handguard that has integrated bipod in it. So there are options. I just don't know what are the parts availabilities and customer support in Europe for this rifle. Oh, I almost forgot. This rifle is not just modular in sense of multi-caliber, but if you are a left-handed shooter, you can easily convert it to left ejecting. Yes. So what you do is you take it apart, you turn the bolt, I think 180 degrees to the other side or 90 degrees to the other side, and exchange this cover with this port opening, and the rifle will eject to the other side. It's very easy to do, it's a great system, and it just works. So for the modularity part, I cannot give it any other assessment than excellent. Maintenance is easy and simple. To get this rifle apart, you have 3 push bolts, one here in the back, one in the middle, and now you can already pivot the lower and upper, but if you need to, you can also remove the front pin, the third one. Motherfucker. If you need to, you can also remove the third pin and get the lower and upper separately, and it actually helps a lot with making the cleaning easier. You can remove the trigger pack over here just by disconnecting it from the trigger connecting bar, and you get it out. You can clean it, you can lubricate it, you can exchange it with the performance trigger pack, and that's it. The recoil spring and recoil spring guide are connected with the bolt carrier. They do not have to be disassembled, they just stay together. The bolt, like I mentioned before, is reversible, so you can actually eject to the opposite side, to the left or to the right side. The maintenance itself is actually very simple. If needed, you can remove the barrel and the gas block assembly, but in most cases you don't need to. It does not require much cleaning. So essentially just take it apart, wipe it down, lubricate it, and put it together. With such a futuristic and complex looking firearm, this easy disassembly and very low maintenance requirement gives me no other choice than give it the assessment of excellent. Now, when we come to the category of pricing and value, I will not officially rate it, because in Europe we have totally different market, totally different prices that you guys in the US. So I don't want this to be a part of the valued assessment of the rifle, because there are such big differences. But regarding the pricing, I will tell you that these rifles are super expensive in Europe. This is probably because they have to be imported from the US to Switzerland and from Switzerland to Europe. Are they worth it? That's hard to say, because the rifle is really good. So it's reliable, it's accurate, it's multi-caliber. You can change the direction of ejection from right to left hand. There are aftermarket parts. It looks special, it is special, it's a bullpup rifle and definitely has its value. Now, does it make sense to buy this instead of an AR? Probably not. Depends what you're looking for. If you want something that's functional and cheap and accurate, it's really hard to go with something else than an AR rifle. But a lot of people don't buy rifles just for the performance or just to get the best value for their money. It's the same as with cars. People buy firearms because they like the looks, they like the function, because it feels well, it shoots nicely, and gives you some extra features that are very important for you. For example, if you buy this rifle, you can convert it to your CQB setup, to something for practical shooting, to a long-range precision rifle, all in the same receiver. So the point being is, it is super pricey, but it has some added value. And at the end, it's on you to decide if that's worth it. Before we draw the final conclusion, let's go through some of the potential drawbacks. A disclaimer, I have never shot the MDR or MDRX. I just handled them in one of the gun shows, so I have no first-hand experience with those, but I heard that there were some issues. There were reliability issues. There was some problem with the complicated ejection system. I think parts breakage, a lot of stuff that kind of could potentially also be issue in the WLVRN, which at least from my point of view is a successor to those platforms. Well, I'm glad to report that reliability issues were not here. Everything works reliably. I had 0 part breakages. There were no malfunctions that would be caused by the system itself. Somewhere I heard that heat buildup can be an issue, that these rifles heat up too much, and my experience is not the same. I spoke about this. Now we did mag dumps with a couple of magazines. The rifle is screaming hot. You can see the suppressor is still smoking. So the handguard is warm, but it's plastic. It doesn't really burn. Here we have the gas block, but it's not touching the aluminum receiver. So I can actually touch it here and it does not burn. Again, if I touched the inside part, the actual gas block, I would probably get burned. Now the hottest part of the rifle is this here. So this is the hottest part because this is the aluminum receiver that clamps the barrel and the chamber. But here is where my head is on. And this part is plastic. It's a very nice cheek weld. It isolates me from the receiver. It's not even warm. And then this part over here I also explained. This is some kind of aluminum or steel cover, but it has felt inside. So it's isolating the sound and the heat. One thing that I experienced is that my rifle was kind of wonky with the accuracy at the beginning. I got it from Switzerland, from Swiss Locks, and I think this was a test rifle or a test barrel setup. It was a bit dirty when I got it, and I suspect it was not properly installed. So what I did is I took it apart, cleaned everything thoroughly, and installed it properly. That means that I pushed the barrel in with completely unlocked screws. I closed the bolt on the barrel, and then I was pulling the barrel away from the receiver with steady pressure all the time, and then I tightened the screws. One thing that also maybe helped here is I spoke directly with Nick from Desert Tech, and he said that I should clean the bolts and lubricate them with oil. That way, when you're tightening them, you can actually get a bit more force on them than the spec, which is 80 foot-pounds, 80 some kind of units. And when tightening the screws, I never fully tightened any of the screws. I just went in this pattern, intermittently tightening one and the other, and the third one, the first one, the second one, and the third one, and just overall until all were properly tightened. Now I'm not sure if this makes any difference, but I feel better, and this is my consistent mounting of the barrel for this rifle, and I feel like if I am consistent, the rifle will be consistent, and I will get repeatable results. And of course, if you saw the groupings, I guess it made a change. This rifle is super accurate. I'm not sure how much sense that would make, but that's one thing that I don't like about this, is the position of the bolt release. On paper, it looks that it's on a perfect position, but when I'm manipulating with the rifle, it doesn't work that well with me. Still usable, but that's maybe one thing. Second thing, doesn't look like these pistol grips are AR interchangeable. It'll be interesting to have more options. If you set it up for an AR pattern, then you have the whole market. Barrel options. Personally, I would actually like to see a pencil barrel option. Short barrel, very thin barrel, so you go for lightweight and maybe less accuracy, and then a heavy barrel profile, so a very thick barrel up to the gas block, and then also a thicker barrel profile to here, as thick as you can get while still being able to mount the gas block. We're already way too long, so let's go straight to the conclusion. This is a great rifle. It's reliable, it's accurate, it has some special features. Would I recommend it? Yes, most definitely I would recommend it, but with a caveat. So If you like this kind of rifles, if you need these kind of special features, if you want to buy something that's different from your standard AR or AK, definitely go for it.